Alright, what we got? An MC Rusty on the right, Incia on the left. Rusty opting to move up towards the trees. We got Incia. He might have moved up a little bit. Pretty much looks like a standard deploy. Power plant Rex. Put your ref slightly higher than if you just deployed here. So here we have the ref go down for both players. A couple of Grens coming out for Rusty here. Just crawling down a power plant. Meanwhile, we got Incia on 2 ref. He's getting a couple of flamers in place. Trying to get some scouting action going on. Your scouting is better than Rusty's at the moment. It's pretty neck and neck. Disadvantage though is you got to be careful of these guys getting stuck in the tib. End up losing them super quick. See an Apache coming down for Incia. Okay, 2 ref Apaches, usually good against GDI. You need to be instantly using it, which you are. This is good. Nice, good snipe. Getting some good use out of it. Now you're up to 3 ref. Here we have 3 ref from Rusty. Rusty using the power plants almost to the extreme here. Not sure you need 4 power plants on 3 ref. It's kind of slowing you down a bit. But we got 3 ref here from Incia. Curious where the strip's going to go down. Most players, rather than like, it's kind of better not to have 2 ref on this field almost, because it mines out super quick if you do. It's why most players tend to have 1 ref on each of these sides, 1 here, and then crawl up to here and get 2 up here. So I try and avoid 2 ref on it. It kind of, you can make it work if you're doing like some kind of timed eco push, but for the most part, it's just not optimal. Rusty needs to look to replays. I'm going to ping him after this. You ideally want to get 2 ref on this field. This is an off position too. 3, 4, 5. But as he's playing GDI, he's going for a mass eco build, which is admirable. It's a good way to play, but it's very difficult to deal with or execute. So you've gone 3 ref, you got the strip here. Similar thing to Incia, I'd say have a look at some of the replays, the usual nod players. I guess AOD, Rash, Uncle DJ would probably be the most regular ones you can find a good replay on elevation of. Just to get the 2, because you get 2 refs here positioned nicely and 1 ref here. Rusty being very interesting with this crawl. I haven't seen players play like this in quite a while from the GDI perspective. You tend to see most GDI players now going 4 or 5 ref into War Factory. It looks like Incia is opted to get the comm center up after 3 ref. It's going to go flame tanks, which is a good option if you see your opponent doing this, because in terms of your vision, you can see he's gone super heavy on the eco. So with some experience, that means you'll be aware he doesn't have enough cash to get the to have a War Factory in place. And he's continuing to crawl bottom, so he's going heavy infantry. So the flame tanks are really going to kick in here. It's going to be pretty damn effective, must be said. I would keep using your Apaches. That's the one thing I noticed is it's a bit idle. It's something that a lot of nod players tend to fall to, is like they build the Apache early on and get some money worth of it and then just drop out. The Rocket Man coming up here from Rusty is pretty good. It's good awareness. If you're GDI coming up against Flame Tanks and you've got no War Factory, a couple of Rocket Men spread out can do well. I'd also say for Rusty in this situation, a couple of Orcas are really good, because he's probably waiting either on his War Factory to queue or he's continuing to eco down here. War Factory, by the time he gets it up, depending where he positions it, it could get sniped super early. Whereas if you just cancel it and get a couple of Orc out, you can deal with the Flame Tanks a lot more cost effectively than using Rocket Men. But yeah, Incia is now up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ref versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 ref. So it's relatively relatively even. There is the extra hard for Rusty, but we'll see how it plays out. The Flame Tanks are doing good damage here and forcing them back. You could do the AOD trick here and use the Flame Tank to block the ref while you attack the Rex. Rusty does have the War Factory down, So we see a couple of medium tanks coming out now. And once the opponent's got 1 or 2 medium tanks, they're going to be able to deal with your flame tanks relatively straightforward. So bikes would be a good way to transition now. And then the bikes can help defend your flame tanks. Yeah, on the kill count you can see Incia's on the 79 versus 13, just wiping the floor with all his infantry. Might actually get this ref as well. Oh, it's going to be tight. Is he going to get it? Oh, now you could send your Apache in here to finish that off, by the way. That's a good example of continuing to use your Apache for good effects. So he's gone into the double war factory, which you would have seen him with the first 2 tanks. So I would have gone straight into bikes, which it looks like you've done. It's good. GDI can be quite scary once they get a huge amount of tanks. Like, this is a lot of tanks to deal with as Nod, because he's going to come charging in here, maybe in here too. So you have the option of putting a hand in Nod. I like if you're going for this field. Generally players wouldn't, because it's a pain in the ass to defend and like watch your harv. But if you're putting a ref here, I definitely recommend having a hand and Nod in front of it. Even micro your harv to get whatever tib out of the way so you can do it. And you get a couple of flamers out to deal with the mask rends, and then you can, because you're floating so much cash while you're building bikes, you can also get the turret up. The real question tends to be your GDI opponent shouldn't get 2 war factory before you get 2 strip. Generally speaking, you want to get your 2 strip up before he's got 2 war factory, or at least at the same time, because now you're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're on 6 ref, and he's on what, 5? 1, 2, 3. He's only on 4 ref. You're forced to sell your Conyard here. You just don't have the resources to hold this. Spamming out rocket men because your Conyard is sniped, so you can't build turrets. This isn't a terrible idea, but they're so slow moving, and it's so many of them at 300 a pop. You can see like your production speed is just choked compared to his, because he has the double war factory. It's very hard to deal with. But I would say having positioning of your hand and nods in these kind of key choke points. Trying to get up to 2. You could experiment with trying to get 2 strips after your 5th ref instead of waiting for the 6th one. 6th one will give you more secure income, but 5 ref, 2 strip can work. It'll let you get the bikes up and you'll be able to get turrets down at the same time. I have a feeling you might have been queuing your 2nd strip when he attacked in, so I would have cancelled that and just switched into the turrets. At this point, like there's nothing you can really do to deal with this many tanks as Nod. It's just too much. Interestingly, you put the Rocketman on the offensive instead of bringing them back for the defensive. Maybe in the hopes of kind of like a base trade type scenario, but yeah, it's not. I don't think it's going to quite do the job you want it to. But yeah, MC Rusty did well to get the 2nd War Factory up and for the transition, and now he's got the mass Humvees out to deal with the Rocketmen. It's a good tech switch from Rusty. Arguably, he could have just rolled in with a bunch of medium tanks and squished them, but Humvees is a good choice, especially since you're only down to infantry now. But yeah, I would say that be careful if you're going to take this refinery. If you are, put a racks in front of it, or at least a couple of turrets, or both if you can. Consider, if you spot on going to War Factory, to get your 2nd airstrip up ASAP. If it's not already, or else just be prepared to put turrets everywhere. Would the Rocketmen have taken out the medium tank army? That's a good question. I think they would have done a good job if they were spread out before the Humvee showed up, but because he did switch to Humvees, they would have absolutely torn apart the Rocketmen after, and you would be in a very poor eco situation potentially, just because of the huge cost of them. Your NG almost got his War Factory at the end. Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it from a strategy perspective, like relying on NG isn't the ideal situation you want to be in anyway, right? Like you want to have won the game without needing to rely on that. But yeah, it was tough. I think the start was really good. I think you could use the Apache a bit more. I think just be aware of these chokes that have hand and nods turrets in front of it. Yeah. The bottom one? You want to check the bottom War Factory? This one? Here's the NG. Hey, Humpa, good to see you, dude. It's been a while. Incia just asked us to have a quick look at this and give some feedback. So it was a GDI v Nod situation. GDI went heavy eco at the start and transitioned into double War Factory tanks. I would just say that be cautious of these choke points. with hand and nods. Flamers, get turrets up if you see him coming straight at you with tanks. And yeah, focus on trying to get the second strip up before he does. Those are the kind of key things. Kill count near the end actually kind of evened out, because you could see for a while you were well ahead in the kills with those early flame tanks, but I think he was just a bit slow switching tech to the recon bikes, and he was quicker off the draw getting the second factory up. Yeah, GG's.
Battle control terminated.